What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Oscar's Cozy Corner. Today, I've got a nice little real-time build for you. We are using the Naboo Villa from the Star Wars bundles that are in the premium shop at the moment, leaving on May 14th. And given that I love these bundles so much, I think that Gameloft did a wonderful job on the Naboo Villa. I was like, I have to do a build with this somewhere. I don't know. I've got to find a spot for it. And I did find a spot for it up in the Sunlit Plateau. Now, there's this one area of the Sunlit Plateau where I believe it's where Scar spawns. Now, I've exiled Scar already, so there's that little patch of land between the Sunlit Plateau and the Forgotten Lands where it kind of like is a little bit dark, a little bit dingy. The game actually changed modes to fog and sort of like mist when you go in there, and everything's just a little bit sad. So I thought, let's do a Naboo Villa inspired build in that section, bring in lots of greenery, let's bring it to life and make it feel a little bit more lived in and a little bit more alive. Now, you might know that I'm not massively familiar with Star Wars, but that's okay. I've had some reference photos up, I've taken a look, we're gonna go with it, we're gonna build something that looks really nice. It's a real-time build, you can follow along with my items, follow along with your own items, do whatever you like, I don't mind. As long as you enjoy the build, which we're gonna get straight into. So, let's get going. Okay, so as usual, I have kind of like my mood board down here of items that I think I'm going to use. I might not necessarily use all of them, but I'm definitely going to use some of them. Now, the centerpiece is, of course, the Naboo Villa with this adorable robot. I mean, I have zero regrets about buying this, but this is going to be the centerpiece. And then this, even though the camera is going to be a bit of a pain for this video because this kind of like scars section of the Sunlit Plateau does like to have that fog on it. I thought that this actually made kind of like the perfect spot. So I know that I'm not massively familiar with Naboo or any of its aesthetics. I do have some reference photos that I've been looking at, but I kind of just thought this was a great little spot. It's underused. I don't use it for anything really. I moved Scar out of there and I thought actually it kind of fits the vibe of all of these sort of items that I've got here. So we're going to do it in this little space, and then at least then I can utilize this space and make it feel a little bit more welcoming than what it is right now, because obviously it's just kind of like bones and death. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the Naboo Villa in this back corner. I'm actually just going to butt it right the way up as far in as I can, because this does have quite a large footprint when it's rotated. If I were to put it in like that, I could probably get it in a little bit further, but I kind of want it offset just like that, a little bit rotated, so I can still have the path running through this section from Sunlit to the Forgotten Lands. So we're going to pop that in there, and then I'm going to get some of the big elements in first. So I want to bring in some of these trees. Let's grab some of these baobab trees. I think I always say that wrong, but it's something along those lines, and I might need to bring it forward just one or two tiles so I can fit some stuff behind it, because sometimes for whatever reason the footprints have odd little bits that come out and take over. But that looks pretty good by there. I'm going to rotate it just a smidgen so the branch comes out to the left. And then I've also got another couple big trees over here. So I'm going to bring this one. I think this is either the dragon tree or the acacia tree, but that one slots in really nicely as well, just in this corner. And I don't know, I think because the house has so much greenery on it, I love the idea of bringing that greenery into this space, which is kind of meant to be like a dead space, but we want to bring it back to life a little bit and see it thrive again. So that's the plan with this build. I'm just going to rotate this slightly till I see a perspective that I'm kind of happy with. And I just wanted that little bit coming out there. So that works for me. And then I'm going to bring the smaller baobab tree and we're going to pop that just off to the left. Maybe a little bit of rotation so we can see the branch. But that looks good. So moving on, I think that we could probably just flesh out these side pieces a little bit better. So I'm going to bring in one of the smaller trees. And I'm just going to kind of try and get some different levels to this, some different variations in height. Because I like to do that with my builds. I like having different heights, and I would also like to try as best as I can to hide some of the dead stuff. So you can see like it's kind of hidden at certain angles, but I think if we add enough greenery, will sort itself out. I have no doubt. So I'm going to bring in one of these ones because this is a little bit shorter, but it matches the canopies. And then we can kind of just tuck that up a little bit against the house by there in order to bring a little bit of interest. And then I could even move this one. Across. A little bit like that. I'm happy with how that looks. And then I'm wondering on the other side, I think maybe the acacia tree is going to be too big on this side, even though it does fit. Actually, I think that looks pretty good because of the way the canopy is with this specific tree. It clears this side. I was worried about covering this, but actually looking at that, I quite like how it looks. And then I wonder if we just drop in like one of the tiny, tiny trees just by there. Yeah, perfect. That looks cute. The greenery looks great. The greenery looks great. Happy with that. And I think we'll move on. We'll move on to the next section. So I'm thinking maybe entrance-wise, I was going to bring in some of these magnolia walls because I actually feel like they match the villa really nicely. Now, because of these rocks getting in the way, we might have to adjust how far back we actually do this entrance. So let me see. Let's rotate that around. Yeah, because I can only get this end piece to go there. So this entrance is going to have to sit back a little bit. That's fine. We can make that work. So I'm going to sit that back, and then I'm probably going to bring in maybe these holograms, these R2-D2 holograms, kind of like as the entry welcoming section. You know, what's better than being greeted into an area with a hologram, right? I mean, it works for me. It works for me. If you are doing this yourself and you do want to kind of like replicate this build in any way, you are welcome, of course, to use your own items, or you can use the same items that I've used. Follow along. Hopefully it's not too complicated. I think it should be a relatively easy build. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in this Naboo table, because I was kind of thinking of having maybe a seating area just outside of the house. Now you'll see that I have a waterfall over here, and I actually think this matches really nicely. So what I was thinking, what my logic was I could cover this sort of like bony structure with the waterfall, and then you don't have to see it. It's because that is probably the biggest one in this area. So if I actually just go ahead and duplicate it, we can get those really, really tight against it. And can I even bring them back? No, I'm stuck on this bone, unfortunately. But I can then center the table to the waterfall, and then we can kind of start piecing together a little seating area by here. So if I actually help myself by putting down one of the paths that I like. So I love this main street path. Always have, always will forever be a fan. And then we just drop this in. At least it frames out that section for me. And I know what I'm working with. Even if we change it kind of like moving forward, I know that's roughly, give or take, where I want it to be. Kind of like that. And I might tweak it just because I can see the floor by there. The other thing that is on my mind and I'm a little conscious about is this dead tree in the corner. So I am going to have to fill that in with some foliage. Now, I really like these. I think this is the Mega tree because it has quite a bit of sort of like width to the canopy. So I'm thinking if I drop that in that corner, that takes up the majority of that space, which means I can't get that any further back, which is a shame. But that means that I can sort of like fill that gap in with that, and then I could maybe just bring in one of these like bushy canopy trees to try and break up the sight line a little bit. And then I wonder actually if I could fit, I'm just seeing, I know this is a 3x3, but I don't think I have 3 tiles available back here. No, I only have 1, which is a shame. But I'm wondering actually if maybe I just move this closer to the house, enough so I can still hide those bones. But then I have a little bit of an extra space to play with by there. I would just have to bring this out just a smidgen. And then I can still kind of like center that. Then we just get rid of that end one. And then I might be able to, maybe I could even fit one of these baobab trees. Can I? Do you want to be nice? Do you want to play ball? No, you don't. That's fine. We can live with it. But I can fit one of these in now. So that creates like a nice little canopy area over the seating area as well. And it is quite difficult in this corner because the camera in the game does love to throw itself around. It loves to throw a little bit of a paddy. I do have the large Amiga tree down there as well, but this one does not have as much leaves on it, so it's more trunk. And I just feel like I want this section to be quite leafy, but I actually don't love how that tree looks by there. So I'm going to remove that one, and I think I'm going to swap it for one of the smaller ones, even though this has a bigger footprint. If I can actually get this to fit in. Where was that? There we go. I could do something like that, and then maybe even drop the really little one in just as sort of like a space filler down this way. And we are going to put in some like floor foliage as well, so some ground level foliage. You can see I've already got a couple of those here just to break up the space. They feel, I don't know, they feel Star Warsy to me. I'm not sure if they are, but we're going to go with it. We're going to go with it. And I'm looking at this now and I'm wondering whether actually I could fit that in over here, but I think the footprint is too big. It is. So we'll stick with this little tree, but I might just bring it forward just a smidgen, just so we see a little bit more of it. But I'm happy with how this is looking. This is definitely where I wanted it to head, so I'm happy with that. So next up, I think I'm going to do the path kind of coming from this entrance to the house. So even though I'm going to use the garden stones as well, I do want to just put down this baked earth path just to add a little bit of texture, I suppose. And then we can just kind of like fill the space around it with some different rocks, add a little bit of texture. It's all just about like making, at least for me, it's about making those different textures work together, making it feel a little bit more alive and a little bit more realistic. I mean, we're working with Star Wars. I understand that, but you know what I mean. So if I bring that there, we have a little bit of a curved effect going on, which I like. So it kind of like swings the path around a little bit, although that makes it now look super small. So let me buff that back out. I'm happy with that. And then I could have just like one going forward. Actually, can I get rid of that one? Yeah. And then we can have one going forward like that. And then I'll just do another sort of like a fork in the road, if you will. And then I like to start with one path, and then I just kind of like build it out and see where I can add in curves, even though we don't have curved pathing yet. It's really helpful to just visualize what works and what doesn't, because you can create the illusion of curves. So you can see I probably need something here, and I can get rid of that corner, but then I can bring that one across, and then that feels more like a curve, that feels like a curve, and then there's a little curve kind of going down there. So it just looks like, I wanted it to look like kind of like a well-trodden path, if that makes any sense at all. But I think it's coming together already. I think this is already bringing this area to life, which I love. It's nice to see. I'm wondering if I have the space to drop in a waterfall back here. I know that it's not anywhere near the height of these up here, but it would just be nice just to kind of like, can I fit that in? Yeah, I can fit that in. So it kind of like attracts your eye rather than looking at the bones up there, and then it all feels like it has water around it. And in the reference photos I did look at of Naboo, they do have They do have water present, so we'll go with that as the reference point. But now I'm just going to drop a bunch of these garden stone path flooring down. I believe that these are recent, right? I think they're from the Oasis Retreat, so they're a really nice item. They're really handy for applying to different paths because you can layer them and it just brings a little bit of definition to your builds. They are a little bit difficult to rotate sometimes. It's worth just bearing that in mind, and sometimes you get like bigger gaps than you were possibly intending just because the footprint of them on the rotation is occasionally a little bit off, but we can make it work. So we go here, and do you know what it is? It's this like little sticky out bit on the end. Even though I quite like how it looks, it can be a little bit of a pain to work with. Go there, and then maybe we'll do these two are too close together, so I need to tweak that. Where do you want to go? Right, move that down there, and then we bring this one here. And then can I fit you in? You don't want to play ball either. Okay, maybe there. And I'll just get rid of that little one. There we go. That looks better. So it's got a nice little curve. We've got a path over to the house, down to the seating area, and then one over to the Forgotten Lands. So that definitely feels like it fits the vibe. I'm happy with it. So moving on, let me just bring in some seating for this little seating area that we have over here. I don't know, maybe this could be like a secret meeting of the Star Wars people. Is it Rebels? Is that right? It's something to do with the Rebels. And I know that this is from a Bug's Life, the Bug's Life bundle that we got the other week. But I can't help just feel like, I don't know, from what I've seen of Star Wars, it feels like this fits the vibe quite well. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but I think it feels like something I would see in Star Wars. So I thought, let's just put it in. Let's put it in, let's use it, because when else am I really, really going to use this in a build? So just trying to find the right place to put it. I wish that you see that first grid? That's where I want it. But I can't. Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. We got it to fit. Perfect. I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with how this is looking so far. So I did also want to bring in like a little bit of a functional section over here. So I was thinking of bringing in just like maybe an ancient cooker, a time bending table, because I always forget to have one of those on hand, and then maybe just a vacuum for the biome. So I can separate again these bones out here, and then I can just bring in some of the trees, bring in some canopy, make it all feel kind of like it belongs. So if I do one here, and then maybe we bring in some of the smaller ones. So just off the time bending table, like there. And then I'm wondering if, could I fit one of these, or is there not enough space? If I move that one, I could fit baobab tree in the corner, but then I don't think I could fit this one, and I quite like the canopy on this. So I'm just going to get rid of that one and go back to what we had. So I'll leave that over there, and then yeah, I might just, I don't think I have the footprint. That's the only problem with this. I love this tree, but it's got such a gigantic footprint. So I think I might just have to duplicate perhaps this one and have it tucked under the tree there. And then maybe I just move this one across just a teeny tiny bit. Okay. I guess I could pull this one sort of that way. And I wonder if I could get this one. I could get that one sort of there. I would prefer it not to eat into the trunk. So I could do that. We could do that. And I don't actually mind it coming out and over the wall. I feel like it just helps it feel a little bit more lived in, which I really like. And then when I was looking through all of the different kind of like items that I thought I could use for this build, there was this like fish vehicle, and I don't know. It has the blue eyes, so I know that it kind of matches because this lights up blue. It just kind of felt like it went. So I'm going to place this in sort of like to break up the path. So like you walk around this, I don't know. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put probably this hologram station maybe around there. So this is kind of just like a little section in the garden. And then I've got one of the ancient lights to go in there. And I'm just going to come out and save just in case anything happens, because I did used to have issues with it not saving my builds. So I'm going to go out and then I'm going to go back in. And fingers crossed it all works as intended. Excellent. Everything still seems to be there. And then when I started looking, I was like, actually, a lot of the Rift in Time stuff does match, especially like the water fountains, like because it has that, I don't know, it has that like Star Wars aesthetic of being quite modern, but also maybe saying run down is probably too extreme. But you know what I mean? I don't know. I kind of wanted this to be like Galaxy's Edge in Disney World. And that's the vibe I get from there. Whether that's correct or incorrect, I don't know. But that's what I get. So I'm going to place that as sort of like the centerpiece, or the exit piece, I should say, going out of this section into the Forgotten Lands. And I'm actually going to put it on a bit of an angle because I'm always, my run of attack is like there anyway. And I might just put some foliage around this back part. But I feel like that all fits together, which is nice. And then I do also have this pedestal, which you can pick up from Eternity Isle. I believe there's only one of these as far as I'm aware. And I was thinking maybe I'll just place it right by, I don't know, maybe I'll place it right by the door. Perhaps like, I don't know, maybe there. Actually, I think this side works a little bit better. I'm going to turn the mailbox off because this is a secondary house, so I'm able to do that. And it just feels like it has like a nice little, I don't know, it feels like it has a nice little glow to it. And maybe I'll just duplicate one of these on this side to make it feel like a proper exit, you know? So I'm definitely happy with this so far. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually bring in some of the marble fence. I'm going to bring that around this seating area because I think that it matches and I think that it looks good. So that's why. I just don't know where to put the fence. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure whether to run it all the way around or not. But the problem with that is I feel like you wouldn't be able to get in unless it had a bigger footprint. So maybe I'll just try, maybe I'll try that first, unless I turn this around. Or unless we go, I wonder if we could go diagonal with this. Because look, but I mean, look at the size of that. I mean, we could do that, actually. Let me see. That could work quite nicely. That adds a bit of a different touch to it. Can I get any closer? It's a shame that I can't get any closer to those seats, but I know that we do have, which I haven't placed down, we do actually have the Magnolia bench. So I could kind of, maybe I could integrate that somehow, although I fear that that is might be bringing it out a little bit too far. No, I think I'm happy with that, actually. So let me see how I can get the fence to work with that section. But I'm actually just looking at this and I feel like I need more. I feel like I need an extra sunbaked tile just on the floor. So let me go and grab one of those. Yeah, just there. I think it just needs it. All right, let me grab that fence. Where's my marble fence? And we'll run this along. Oh, I stopped myself with the chair. Can I get this to fit any other way? See, no, I like how that looks, so I think I'm gonna have to bring it forward again. Which means I'm gonna have to bring this floor out. And we're gonna have to find us another rotation, perhaps, for that. Just because I don't like how it clips, but let's just see. Bring this down here. And is that, what is that running into? Oh, there we go. So I can bring it down to there. Which is fine, because actually that acts kind of like the way in. And then I could just do like a corner section. Here. And then maybe one. Maybe one here. And then what I'll do is I'll see if I can sneak this out to the side a little bit. There we go. That works. I'm happy with that. Yeah, because actually I can just kind of like cut through there to get to the house, or I can run around the outside. But either way I think it fits. And I just kind of wanted that like garden-y section, I guess, if you can call it a garden. But I suppose I could put, maybe I could place a bench either side. No. I kind of like how it is. I do really wish that we had a subgrid, and I do wish that because the table has a subgrid now, and I do wish that they would just let us clip items, like actually just get rid of the grid. I mean, have a grid as optional, but like if I wanted to place this right up against this, I would love to be able to just clip items into each other. That would be the absolute dream for me as a decorator. Because that is the other option, placing that, but then they look a little bit far away from the table, and I kind of like the original angle. Unless I just get rid of the table and I place in kind of like a bench as a table. But then I lose the Naboo vibe, so let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. I mean, the other option is I could just grab... Where is this Naboo set? I could grab the chairs. And we could just have one chair either side. Although that feels like they shouldn't be outside chairs, so I'm going to stick with what we have. I'm going to stick with what we have. And then I'm just looking around to see what else I've got. I actually love these doors. And what I was thinking was placing them as kind of like an entrance gate. So I was thinking of having one completely closed. And then, because I've only got 2 available anyway. And then I was thinking of having one open. Kind of like that. Oh, I think it might, to match the other side, it needs to be there. I don't know. I feel like that just gives kind of like compound, you know? It's got the blue on it as well, which I really like. And then it's just like, welcome to the space. I like it. I'm going to keep those. Which means we're nearly there with the items that I did want to use. Oh, these could work. They look kind of nice. Could I have them in each corner? Is that too much? Maybe it's a little bit too much, but it does kind of feel regal though. I wonder if there's any way that I could fit. Can I fit these in so it's just slightly more in the middle? Because you know me in symmetry, it's going to bug me, but then look, I'm 1 tile off anyway, so you can tell when I'm not quite happy with something because I'll keep tweaking it. Where are you? Okay. No, I like how it was. And I do kind of like those bind lamps. So I'm going to leave them for now, but I might tweak them. And then the only other thing I wanted to do was just kind of like get some foliage and some jugs in. So I do feel like these clay jugs go quite nicely. So I'm going to place those just dotted around. Now, I do have a couple different variations. I've got some larger ones. I've got, oh, look, it can go on this, it can go on the table. I do have some smaller ones. And I do wish the colors were just a little bit sort of like tighter and a little bit closer together. Because, you know, this is much more red than the other two, but that's just me nitpicking, to be honest. Maybe we can place one sort of like here. And then I'll grab one of the other colored ones. Or maybe we just drop that in. I don't know, just kind of like off the path. You know, kind of like decorative garden vases. I do really love this color though. I love this color one. And then I also have this, I think this is a wrought iron tile from the Remy sort of like delivery quests. And I just thought they kind of remind me of the manhole covers, I suppose. So maybe I could just kind of like dot, maybe I could just kind of dot those around as well. Kind of like 1, 2, 3, and then I wonder. No, I feel like 3 is fine. Sort of like that. Actually, I might move this one in that gap. And then place that down, maybe there. I'm looking at this and I'm like, can I make this look a little bit more elegant? Maybe by having just like it step out ever so slightly. I think maybe 2 is too much, but I think one looks nice. It's a shame that I can't bring that fence any further down, because it does bug me a little bit, but we persevere. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe those bind lamps are too much. Maybe they're too tall for the space. Even though I thought that they would go really nicely, maybe they are too tall. Unless I just had them as an entrance, sort of like right there. Yeah, I think I might just get rid and I might just put foliage in. Unless, let me just double check my lighting. Because obviously I've got the Ancient Landing lighting, which works. But I mean, maybe candles could be nice. Candles dotted about. I love these atrium candles. Oh, I only have one left. But I know that I do have a bunch of the smaller candles somewhere. Yeah, I do have some of the smaller melted candles, so they work as well. So I could just fill in some of the space with those. Because I feel like they'd still be using candles in Naboo, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they would. And I just wanted to check if I had something that matches. So I feel like the stone lantern feels a little bit... Actually, no. The stone lantern kind of goes with that. So what if I put one of those either side? Unless I did a banner. Because we do have these and that kind of... I don't know. Like, I know it's a Merida one. But is this something that, like, the rebels would use? Maybe. Are the rebels the good people? I hope so. Because I mean, the park banner kind of goes to... Because it's got the blue on it. So maybe I just swap it out for a parks banner. And then I've got an excuse to use those again because I love using the parks banners. Oh, and then I can just put those inside. Yeah, I don't even need to put them on the outside. I can put those inside. Excellent. Kind of like a meeting point. Yeah, that works. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And then the only other thing that I had, which I know I haven't used, is this clay stove. And this was just more for selfish reasons. I was like, where can I put this if I need to cook something on the go? So I want that mining node free. So maybe I just put it like right behind this closed gate. I could move this out the way slightly because I know I've got the ancient cooker right next to it, but Needs must. Maybe I'll just put it right there. And now we can just go through and fill with some of the different rocks and the different foliage. So first up, I'm going to do the mushies, because they do match like the tones perfectly, which I absolutely adore. I'm going to get rid of those candles actually, because I don't think they look that great. And then I'm going to bring these mushies in anyway, because they light up. That's what we want. Everything just kind of needs to light up and look warm and inviting. So I've got a couple of spaces that I can use these in. Not too over the top, just enough to like be effective. I will say the fence is a little bit bugged sometimes. It does bug me, for lack of a better term. Maybe I can have like one or two, maybe over this side, and then maybe a final one, like, I don't know, maybe a final one next to this vase. And then I can go ahead and bring some foliage in. So I'm going to start with these little fan palms. This is just an immediate way to bring everything to life and start giving everything a little bit more vibrancy, which is why I love using them so much. So we can just dot these around. And the best part about these Eternity Hour ones is that they are one tile. So you can use them in all sorts of little nooks and crannies, just really getting the foliage in place, making sure that it looks how you want it. I also love these kind of like, I say they're alien looking ones. They're not that alien, but I don't know, they give a different texture again because the leaf is so interesting. So they're really handy to bring in. Maybe we place them right at the entrance. I did kind of want to use this as well from the Bugs Life set, because I was kind of like, well, this is a little bit like Star Wars-y. I could see something like that being in Star Wars, but maybe it's too much. Could I fit it in the corner? Because I don't want to block the mining node either. I think it might look a little bit out of place just because it's so large. So I'm gonna leave that for now, and we'll just continue filling out some more of this foliage and dotting these in different places. I do wish that more of the foliage was one tile. That's the thing about the Eternity Isle stuff, is a lot of it seems to just be one tile, but then when we got the Storybook Veil, for some reason everything kind of went back to being 2x2. These little trees are handy as well for being small enough to fit in, but having enough of an impact. So I'm actually swap that on that side. I can't because of the path. Never mind. I'm gonna rotate that. I'm gonna bring this back over here. I might bring in one of the smaller ones just behind this gate. And then I think over this side, if I bring in maybe some of these larger alien looking ones, and then I can drop in finally some of these rocks without trying to block any of the paths that we've made. Maybe this one is a little bit too big, but these smaller versions of the rock with the moss on are really handy for filling in space. They give the ground a little tiny bit of definition as well. And then you've got the green on top of the rock too. So you can just go through, and I like to just rotate them a couple of times just so they're not all sort of uniform. And then if there's any gaps that I can see, I just try to drop them in. But they will stop you from running over them, because obviously we use them to trap villagers and stuff like that. So if you do use them sort of like in the middle of a path, it will block you from running through it. Just worth bearing that in mind. And then we'll just do a couple little more bits, and then we should pretty much be done. I will bring actually one of these over this way. And I'll just extend the floor to the time bending table. And then I think maybe on the outside, we try and fit some foliage as well. So I'll bring one of the fan palms, bring maybe a big one over in this spot. And if I can get one in here, I will try to, and then we can move that one. And then I can just duplicate some of those on the inside. Maybe an extra one back there. And I think maybe one just in the middle as well, because I just, you know, it just brings it to life. And then I think, looking at it, I'm just having a swing around. I've got a couple of single tiles free down the back here, just so at character level, this is all sort of like filled out as well. And I think we might just about be done. Kind of like that. I think that looks good. Yeah, I think we're done. Alright gang, that is it for this video. I do hope that you enjoyed that build. Let me know down in the comments below what you liked, maybe what you would have changed. Could I have done something differently? Whatever it is, just give me a shout down below and we can chat about it. If you do like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We do builds, we do news, we do gameplay, all sorts of good stuff, and I stream twice a week, so feel free to come along to those as well. Don't forget to get the Star Wars items. If you do want them, they will be leaving the premium shop next week. They are definitely worth it, even as someone who is not a Star Wars fan, so I highly recommend grabbing them while you still can. They might cycle around again once upon a time, but who knows when that date might be. But with that being said, I will leave it there for today. I will catch you in the next one, and I will, of course, see you in the valley.